Filmate, wohin? Wohin? Nicht?
Now I got these college kids like a discotheque.
Listen. I'm sorry. You are a nice boy, but I'm too beautiful for you. Goodbye, Brad from America. You want one more kiss before I go?
Are you kidding?
I'd like to tell you a story today about a father and a son. The father loved his son, and the boy loved his dad. They would spend lots of time together. At night, the boy would often ask, "Dad, please, can I go to work with you tomorrow?" Sometimes the father would arrive early at his son's school and tap on the window and say, "Come to work with me." And the boy would run and get his coat, and he would be the happiest boy ever because he knew that he would get to spend the rest of the day with his father. And they'd walk out together, and his dad would take his book and give him the hot chocolate that he had made for him because it was really, really cold. And they'd walk down the street together, and they'd talk together, father and son. But you see, this boy was a very special boy. He saw things that other people wouldn't see. As they're walking, he sees a man in a bathrobe in the middle of the street. And there's a lady yelling at him from a second-story window. And she's really angry at the man and wants nothing to do with him. She closes the window and walks away. And while the rest of the world hustles by, the boy stops and he looks and he sees their anger. And he sees their pain. And the father comes and grabs him by the hand and says, "Son, come, we're going to be late for work." But the boy stops and looks one last time. Why is she angry? And what is the man going to do to be allowed back in? And the boy would go with his dad, and together they would go and they'd catch the tram. And again, the boy would notice people. On this particular day, they climb onto the tram, and he notices a couple across the aisle from them. As he looks, he notices that the woman, she seems really upset. But the man seems very happy. And he couldn't understand that. He couldn't understand how they could be together like that the one could be so happy while the other one was so sad. He just knew that there was something wrong. He had this special instinct. Now, as you can hear, there's a train coming. And the boy sits on his dad's lap with his dad's arm around him, and he feels very safe and very secure. You see, he loved being with his dad, and the dad loved being with his boy. And they would talk together, and they would laugh together. And as they walked through the woods together, the father would say to the son, "Son, what do you want to do when you grow up?" And the son says, Dad, I don't know, do you think I'll get to have a cool job like yours? I want to do something wonderful. I want to do something great. I want to do something that will change people's lives. What do you think, Dad? And the dad would rough and tumble him and say to him, Son, one day you're going to do something amazing. You're going to change people's lives. But there was a train coming. You see, there's always a train coming. And that train has life on it. That train has people in it. You and I, we're all riding on the train of life. Going, laughing, doing, whether we realize it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not, we're all together riding on that train of life. The father and the son reach the edge of the track. Now you see that bridge? That's where the dad worked. That bridge was really, really important. It was over a river, you see, and when the boats came along the river, the dad would pull the lever and lift the bridge so that the boats could go through and offload their goods. And when they were done, he would lower the bridge again so that the trains could go across that bridge. And the boy loved going to work with his dad and watching that bridge go up and down. And they would go along, and the dad would leave his boy at the edge of the river because what that boy loved doing most was to fish. And the dad would say to him, Now, son, you stay right here by the edge of the river where I can see you. The train's only due in an hour. Here's some food for you to eat. Now you catch us a nice big fish for our dinner. And the father would head inside to check that everything's okay. And the boy's so glad that his dad came and got him out of school early. The boy picks up his fishing rod and he starts to fish. He knows that he can catch something good for him and his dad to eat that night. Now, the critical part of the story is the light. You see, on every train track, there is a light. And that train conductor needs to look at that light. And if the light is green, the train can go. But if it is red, the train must stop. On the train tracks of our lives, God has given us lights. Green lights that tell us to go and red lights that tell us to stop. Whether we read those lights or not, it's up to us. The father gets a call to say that there's a boat coming along the river. And he says, okay, that's no problem. It's a long time before the train is due. And he pushes the buttons and puts his hand on that lever and he pushes it up. And the gears start turning and the steam is being cranked through the engine. Those giant wheels start turning and the big, huge stone steel bridge starts to go up and up. As it rises higher and higher, the dad is watching to make sure that everything's okay, that everything's set, that everything is fine. And as the dad looks at the bridge, he looks at the river, he looks out the window where he can see his son. You see, the dad's watching the whole time. Where's my boy? How's he doing? The thing about God is that God is watching us all the time. He's watching when no one else is watching. Even when we think he doesn't see us, God's keeping an eye on us. He's watching the bridge, he's watching the river, he's watching the boy. God's seeing, and God's watching us. As the boy sits at the edge of the river, he notices, you see, the train conductor missed that red light. And that's what happens in the story, is he failed to look and he failed to see, and that train keeps on going. And the boy sees the steam. He notices the train's coming. It's coming early. He says, Daddy, Daddy, the train's coming. Daddy, the train's coming. But the dad's looking at the gears, making sure that the bridge is okay. He doesn't see it. The boy shouts, Daddy, Daddy. But you see, the boy had been shown once that there was an emergency lever in the bridge, that if he pulled that lever, the bridge would come down. And the boy realizes he's got to do something. There are people on this train, and those people need to be saved. So that boy runs across to the bridge. It's people just having a good time. They didn't even realize that the bridge isn't up. People like you and I. Suddenly the father notices